one more thing here before we get to some reviews. As we are recording, news has broken. OVW, your old stomping grounds, and actually something you owned at one point or was a partner in, if that makes any sense, with Danny Davis. OVW has been sold. I have a press release here. The logos of OVW and Morley Sports Management. Morley Sports Management Limited acquires OVW Wrestling. Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW, are pleased to announce that Morley Sports Management Limited, MSM, will acquire a majority shareholding in the business from 1 May 2025. Obviously, they are from another country. That's why the date is like that.
Yes, they do things backwards, as we said the other day, like it's May 1st.
MSM are current owners and operators of Haverfordwest Country, who are a professional soccer club based in Wales and play in the nation's Premier League, as well as providing strategic and creative consultancy to some of the world's biggest sporting brands. Huh. Is that what Tony's in? Is Tony in the Premier League?
I don't know.
Under MSM's management, Haverfordwest Country are in its most successful period in the club's 125-year history, with a competitive side that played in UEFA European competition in 2023 for only the second time, and became the first Haverfordwest Country side in history to win a European tie when they beat North Macedonia's KF. What the fuck? Shkengia in the UEFA Europe.
What are you?
I'm trying to read what it says here. You try if you can find this thing.
Well, spell what you're trying to say, son.
SHKENDIJA. It's a weird word just having a middle there because you're not prepared for it. You're like, I've never seen this before. But anyway, they currently sit in third place in the Welsh Premier League.
And by the way, I love the way they're listing this. Like these are their qualifications to be operating and owning this wrestling operation. But go ahead.
Since their takeover in 2020, alongside significant on-field developments, the club has developed a highly accredited and successful community program, a competitive and history-making boys and girls academy, and high-quality media output, including weekly podcasts and a documentary following the club's rise from amateur status to a fully professional club competing in the upper echelons of the Welsh football pyramid.
In the West Derbyshire Havershire Foundation.
MSM.
No, we shouldn't make fun of our friends across the pond. I love you guys.
No, they clearly have money to spend. MSM and its team have a successful track record in business operations within the sporting arena and bringing them to the heart of its community, if they say so themselves. The current ownership group...
And they do.
The current ownership group, headed by Matt Jones, will retain a minority equity position.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on. Back up. This is the current. They unwieldily transitioned there, but the current ownership they're talking about now is of OVW going forward here.
That's right.
Of the football folks.
Matt Jones will retain a minority equity position and will remain as advisors to MSM and its board for the foreseeable future.
We're going to tell you how we've been losing money on this thing for 5 years.
Founder of MSM, Rob Edwards, who will officially become the CEO of OVW on 1 May 2025, states, here's a quote, OVW is such a historic brand within wrestling and sports entertainment and has real provenance. I've never read a press release about wrestling like this before. Some of the biggest talents in the industry have learned their trade at OVW, confirmed by the fact that the main event at WrestleMania this year will be between two OVW alumni, John Cena and Cody Rhodes.
One of whom was there in 2001 and the other of whom was there in 2007.
Led by Al Snow, the promotion remains littered with talent. With There's garbage abound everywhere.
In the same way that the riverfront is littered with decorations.
Led by Al Snow, the promotion remains littered with talent, with whom we want to promote not just within Louisville and Kentucky, but across the US and Europe. And alongside the OVW Academy, provide a clear pathway for people anywhere to break into the industry in what is one of the leading environments to learn the trade. We want to build on the exposure created from wrestlers on Netflix, that was years ago at this point, and take OVW's reach across the pond and beyond. I like that. That's good.
All the way to infinity.
He adds, the current ownership group have worked tirelessly to drive OVW forward in the hope of finding a bunch of European marks that will buy it for way more than it's worth. Excuse me. Into the modern era, and we are.
I think they should have phrased it instead of tirelessly. The current ownership has worked sleeplessly.
And they are dedicated to. We are dedicated. Excuse me, to continuing their good work over the last few years and build on the strong foundations in place alongside its passionate team. We want to empower those within the business currently to help us achieve new heights within the industry and take advantages of the opportunity this era we are in create, alongside making OVW an asset within the community. In everything MSM do, we want to create not just industry impact, but social impact also. We are so excited for the challenge and breaking new barriers.
Then they need to bring some sandbags and a fucking truck and a shovel and come on down if they want to make an impact on the society around here right now.
We are so excited for the challenge and breaking new barriers for this fantastic brand. Matt Jones, who represents the current ownership, explains, I fully believe that MSM is the perfect management entity to help OVW continue to grow and expand the boundaries of its support into new and exciting markets. I look forward to providing support as they lead the future of this historic wrestling organization to exciting new heights. Thank you to our OVW fans for your continued support and enthusiasm for what we do. And we hope this partnership will ensure we can continue to provide you the highest level of entertainment and engagement for years to come. We'll see you at ringside.
That was a mouthful. And I mean, we're laughing primarily because was it on anybody's bingo card, as the kids say, for any promotion, much less OVW that I'm, obviously have been affiliated with in the past, for a fucking English soccer league company ownership to just suddenly say, well, we want to buy a fucking small local independent wrestling promotion in the United States. What and from the sound of that press release is very rosy and optimistic, but in that it didn't explain why that of all things that this apparently well-financed, one would think, operation could get involved in, they just, we've got this thing in fucking, where are they? Where's their home base? What part of the UK? I don't want to misrepresent anyone.
I got to go back to this.
Whatever part of...
They are from Haverfordwest Country.
Okay, in Haverfordwest Country, we've got to own an ongoing business concern in Louisville, Kentucky. It's an easy commute. We can keep an eye on it easily. How the fuck is this even going to... And what And why is it worth the effort for the it made a nice living for me and Danny Davis at one point in time, but this is not a goddamn giant financial juggernaut here, and it hadn't been when it was doing well.
We think there'll be a content explosion all across the universe, with OVW stars reaching all new heights, led by us, MSM, the geniuses behind Haverhurst Forest, or whatever the fuck they were saying.
The Royal Forest of Dean. But no, here, this brought up, here's what when I saw this press release go out, and it's been on again, the TV news. Our good friend Gilbert Corsi, who used to be the voice of Ohio Valley Wrestling in the 2010s, as the kids say, is the anchor man there and had this story on. Obviously, Danny Davis was always the majority owner, and he was the founder and operator and manipulator. And I didn't write it down here to have right in front of me what year that he sold, but it was well before the pandemic. Was it around the time we started doing the podcast, 2016-ish? Maybe 17, somewhere in there.
I was thinking it was pretty early on, because I almost feel like he was in Florida pretty early on, but maybe I'm completely wrong.
Well, it's time flies as we get nearer to the end of ours. But point being, at one point, I think it was probably, no, you know what? It was definitely like 2017-ish. But anyway, Danny had told me, well, Al Snow has, and I'm going to make it plain up at the top. I haven't talked to any of the current ownership group like ever. The Matt Jones with Kentucky Ray, he does a sports radio program. I haven't listened to the radio in this town since we were buying it for OVW, except if it's the classic rock station. So I've never heard his program. I know there's other people. Our mayor, Craig Greenberg, who bought into it as part of some type of investment group. Again, we'll go into this. And then got elected mayor, but he's owned part of it. But and I only saw Al Snow for the first time in 5 years in person at the movie premiere. So I don't have any inside knowledge of these dealings or this activity, but I can tell you from my experience and what I've heard here in the community. So Danny Davis was about ready to retire. He was fed up with the wrestling business. And bless his little pea-picking heart, he went to Florida, and now he may speak to people as individuals, but I guarantee you he hadn't watched any fucking wrestling or couldn't give a shit possibly what the fuck is going on right now. And he's having a wonderful retirement. But it was somewhere around there. He said, Al Snow wants to buy the company from me. And I believe Al had a financial backer. Let's just say that's a pretty good bet. And, they made a deal, and Danny retired to Florida, and Al became the owner of OVW. And then again, I wasn't transcribing this as it happened contemporaneously to give testimony later, but it wasn't long after that, I believe, that we heard that they were I can't remember the order of events, but they were either looking for another investor or had another investor, and they also got accredited. Do you remember this story, Brian? They got accredited as a trade school, like for plumbing or for fucking whatever trades are, stonemasonry. I don't know what they have trade schools for, but they got accredited with Kentucky as a trade school. And they were trying to expand their profile, but at the same time, their profile has been diminishing around here. And then a few years back, my cousin Larry, because, before he got ill and before he retired, he had a medical supply company, et cetera, not germane to the story, but he was in the medical field. And he said, yeah, this doctor friend of mine, because he knows obviously what I do or have done. This doctor friend of mine, Jim, has invested in a local wrestling federation. I said, what? And he said, yeah, he's just doing. I said, Ohio Valley Wrestling? Yeah, that's it. Was that yours? Because even then, Larry was starting to get a little forgetful. And I would hear that some people are investing, and I'm like, investing in what? And then because Danny had after the WWE developmental, he'd had TNA with him for quite some time, and then had done his own thing for a while and has had the school fairly self-sufficient, but he had cut back on the number of big live events, and that's only continued. And so then the news report said that the controlling stake in OVW has changed hands 3 times since 2020. And that doesn't even count Al's initial purchase from Danny with whoever he had. So controlling interest in this little teeny tiny wrestling school keeps changing hands until now this international, I don't know if it's a conglomerate, but it may be a conglomeration, has bought it. Yet I live here and I used to run it, and we built out the building that they're still in. And about once a year, I will see on the very weak local independent station, they run OVW multiple times per week, like they run commercial for the fucking fish blender. And you click on for 5 minutes and it gives me, I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone, but it gives me that sick feeling in my stomach when you think that, a famous attorney who has had a son who sends through legal school and is going to become the next Clarence Darrow instead turns out to be an intravenous heroin user in a fucking gutter somewhere, is the feeling I get from watching the television show that has the company that once bore my face and I had financial interest in. So I don't know what the fuck is going on, but they run a TV taping in a building that they get 100, from the look of what I see on camera, 150 or 200 people on Wednesday nights. There's no Six Flags deal anymore. There's no major house. I don't see a spot show schedule, but they did. Brian, remember the Wrestlers thing on Netflix? Did you see any of that? I watched the first one. I don't know if I ever even commented to you about it.
No, I didn't know you watched it. I never watched any of it, but I remember they toured briefly or tried to tour afterwards.
Well, out of morbid curiosity, because I had this because again, the sick feeling I would get when a documentary on the inside of a wrestling school that I once had part of is going to be broadcast to the world, and kayfabe's corpse will be drawn and quartered in Times Square. But the show, number one, was embarrassing from a standpoint of, yes, that it showed what they were doing in front of no people, but also the talent that Hollywood Haley J, who was supposed to be a star at one point, came off like I would have if I'd have just gone down there and wrote him a check and bought the thing. Then the first thing I'd done is fire that fucking douchebag. She's just Jesus Christ, and their petty fucking issues, and it just so the talent had gone to hell. The look of the thing, and Matt Jones, who was the guy operating it. So, we're losing $30,000 a month. So what it didn't used to cost us $30,000 a month to run the fucking thing. I think Danny might could have run it for $30,000 a year if he had to, but it wasn't no.
How are they losing that much a month on what?
I don't know what the fuck they were doing. And they were trying to get on. They were telling people that they were getting on this wide television network. It was the modern day and streaming equivalent of the Bill Barron's strategy. Get us on all these low power and independent services that feed these bullshit stations in Pocatello. And eventually that adds up to a number. We can do the 1-800 per inquiry spots, 1-800 buy this shit, that type of thing. But nobody was watching it. But they did do it off the Netflix thing. So I watched the first episode. I said, "Oh, Jesus Christ, no." And then, and again, I don't even know who I'm knocking now because I don't know who these suckers are that bought this thing next. But then they said they were doing a national tour. And in my small circle of actually non-wrestling related, incidentally related to wrestling friends that I speak to, I heard that this guy that managed some kind of facility in, I believe it was Las Vegas. Again, I'm willing to be corrected, but I think it was Las Vegas, somewhere out on the West Coast, was a big fan of this Netflix series, and he bought a show from OVW for fucking 2,000 miles away. And he was telling this guy that told me, "Oh yeah, they're on Netflix and everything." And the guy that told me, he was smart enough to know, and I think, let's put it this way, I don't believe they made their money back. And did you ever hear about that show happening, Brian? It happened, but did you ever hear about it?
I do remember at the time, WrestleTix, I believe, was reporting on some of the ticket sales, and they didn't look good in advance. I don't remember hearing anything about the actual shows.
From what I understand, there were more witnesses to the St. Valentine's Day massacre than there were to that wrestling card. But, and then again, independently, a guy that I know was contacted wanting him to help promote this national tour. And he had been given a glorified picture of what the realities of Ohio Valley Wrestling's business and appeal across country were at that point in time. And I tried to temper his enthusiasm so he didn't go bankrupt. And I don't know that pairing eventually went too far, but no, I don't know what's going on here, but doctors and lawyers and mayors have been putting money into this thing for years now. And as I said, they don't do the spot show schedule we used to do. They don't do the Six Flags. They don't do any major live events that you see every once in a while. At a festival at, the riverfront or whatever. Maybe not now. They'll have OVW wrestling will be there. Everybody knows the initials OVW, but nobody's going to see OV fucking W right now here. And so I don't know what, I don't know what Rip Rogers, I think Rip's retired. I don't know if he's still training anyone or if they just have to come to him and see more or what the deal is. But otherwise, there's no connection between the OVW that we had and what this OVW is now, except that people keep fucking buying. When we were one of only 2 profitable wrestling promotions in the United States of America, nobody wanted to buy it. But now there's been a losing money for 10 fucking years. There's goddamn people lining up. What is going on here, Brian?
It kind of sounds like stuff we've seen and experienced in podcasting. You have some company, obviously their interests are in owning sports properties and whatever content lies with it. They made a big deal about their content development in that press release. And they're buying a wrestling company. It happens to be OVW, but they're buying a wrestling company. They're going to have content, and now their portfolio, which, most people are building companies to sell them. Their portfolio will be, we have this property and we have this property. Maybe they'll get some more properties. And then, next thing you know, the Saudis own OVW. That's the way it works.
Oh boy, howdy. Yeah, well, they got a football team over there in West Faversham. And they've got a sports representation company that floats around the world. And they got a wrestling school in Louisville, Kentucky at 4400 Shepherdsville Road.
Hearing you were bought by some soccer team you'd never heard of somewhere else, is that like hearing that like some Nigerian is investing in the GWF?
Yeah, where's Olu Oleani when we need him? What the fuck? He could clear this whole thing up. He's got a letter of credit, Brian. I got a copy of it. That letter of credit.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I guess the only other interesting thing...
But at least the mayor's out of the wrestling business, so we can be thankful.
Is he out of the wrestling business?
Well, now wait a minute. I don't know if he's still part of the old group that had a minority
Equity.
interest, equity,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck he's got.
We'll sell it to you, but we want to hold on to a piece because if you find a sucker that'll buy it from you, we want to make money off that sale too. It's a good move. It's a good move. Well, there you go. There's the OVW news. That's the most OVW news I've heard in a very long time. We'll see if anything comes of this. But Jim, some people sell wrestling school, not memberships. What are they?
Scholarships?
They don't sell the scholarships. They
well,
they sell admissions.
See, that's one of the reasons why we made money.
Well, some people sell admissions, I guess, to
or charge
school.
Tuition.
Or chart. There we go.
There you go.
That's not really a great transition, but let's go back to selling. Let's talk about something you may have to learn at wrestling school, how to sell. But the type of selling we're talking about is once you make it in wrestling and you haven't gone to the majors yet and you need to sell your own shit and you don't want to go with any company that's already doing it, you may want to set up your own store. And of course, that store can be powered by Shopify.
That's right, because Sell Your Own Shit by Shopify should be trademarked, and we're doing it right now. And then we'll sell it back to Shopify so they can sell it to other people. And there will be a lot of selling going on and a lot of buying, and a lot of selling, because that's the noise you're going to hear whenever you deal with Shopify. Because they're going to ring you up and they're going to ring somebody else out. They are going to give you the same checkout that the big boys use, where you have the global reach. You're covering the world like an enveloping darkness. Your business, your product, your merchandise available wherever the human being may exist on this planet and has the money to pay for it. They'll take whale blubber up there in the Antarctic, or is it the Arctic? Whichever is up where they have the blubber, they'll take it. And they will convert it into cha-chings for you. You go to Shopify.com and you look at what they can do for you, folks, because nobody does selling better than Shopify. They are powering, as a matter of fact, our current sale of shirts for Corny's Drive-Thru and Corny shirts and a variety of things that you find on YouTube or wherever you see your favorite podcast advertised, because Shopify is making us money. They can make you, I understand you think, well, they're stars. They're international big business typhoons, Jim Cornette and Brian Last. They got these connections. Well, you can have them too, because we're letting you in on it. Because with our cachet in the industry, ladies and gentlemen, we can give you a code, a secret code. You don't even need a decoder ring, where you can get a $1 a month trial period for your online business, your platform, your checkout, your commerce at Shopify. $1 a month. What is that? What's the math? 3 cents a day would be a dollar a month. Well, maybe in October, the months with 31 days, it would be 93. Nevertheless, it's very cheap, because they want to show you what they can do for you. And once that, it's like injecting intravenous crack cocaine in your veins. Once that you see the money that they're going to make you, you're never going to want to give that money up. You're going to be fiending for your jonesing for the cash, baby. You're going to be a complete capitalistic whole.
You won't be jonesing for anything. You will be appreciative of having a partner you could trust, having a thing that you could rely on.
Yeah, this thing of ours.
You could rely on. And of course, no crack.
You're going to be, it depends on what your flavor is, but whatever you got on your back, they're going to give you some of it. It's going to be called money. And you want some more of it. You'll do anything to get some more. And so you sell more and more until finally you're selling everything that you could possibly sell in your store. And Shopify is converting that whale blubber into good hard American currency, and they're handing it to you, and you're just rolling naked. You're rolling naked in this dough because you've sold your clothes.
Why?
You've sold your clothes because you've sold everything there is to sell except your dignity. And then you started on that. Now you're rolling around in money naked as the day you were born with your willy hanging out. That's what Shopify can do for you, folks. Right now, go to Shopify. Go to shopify.com/JCE to upgrade your selling today and get that $1 a month trial period. JCE all in lowercase, by the way, in case the computer tries to kick you out, because not everybody can take advantage of this offer. It's only for the people that can understand basic fucking instructions. Shopify.com/JCE in lowercase, and soon you'll be hearing that sound. Money, it's a hit. Don't give me that good bullshit.
Okay,
They're gonna take people's money and they're gonna turn around and give it to you, and that's the good old fashioned American way. Take something from somebody else and give it to somebody.
Through sales, through the legitimate manner.
Well, if as long as they are polite and keep their mouths shut and do what they're told, everybody will get out of this all right.
You'll get out of this all right. $1 a month. Try it out today. Shopify. We like it so much that we use it ourselves for our t-shirt store. More to come from us. More to come from them. Do the right thing. Don't make a mistake. Shopify. What's that promo code, Jim?
JCE all in lowercase. Yeah, don't make a mistake. You got a real good life going there for you. It'd be a shame if you didn't do what we said.
Shopify.com/JCE.